Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Leave me on, we'll watch the morning dove. If you don't need me, then I took it far enough. With all child.
You're listening to Screaming Females live on KEXP. Screaming Females ripping it up in the KEXP studios, songs from the album Desire Pathway. That is awesome.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You've been making music for a really, really long time together as a band. Can you give me the origin story?
I grew up with Mike, who's playing the bass, so I've known him my whole life. And then I met Jarrett in college. And Mike and I were in another band that kind of was like dissolving, and we lost a drummer. And so when Jarrett introduced himself to me and said he played drums, I just asked him to play, not knowing if he was any good or not. So he joined our band for like a second, and then there was some clientele moved around. Different people left, came and went, and eventually we just settled on the three of us.
You feel really connected, it sounds like, to the place that you live and where you're from. Can you talk a little bit about that connection and what it's given to you as musicians?
We started our band in New Brunswick, New Jersey, which is like right in the middle of New Jersey, which some people would want to argue about, but I think it's in the middle. And that's where Rutgers University is, so there's a lot of students there who want to participate in seeing shows and looking at art, and I would say that mostly Rutgers doesn't really provide those spaces for their students, and so they create the spaces for themselves. And New Brunswick has a very rich history of having basement shows, and we were very active participants in that community. So we threw a lot of basement shows in our respective houses and other people's houses, and bands from all over the world would come to play in our really dirty basements.
It sounds like a really supportive and vital community.
Yeah, I would say it was to date probably the greatest couple years of my life.
You've been a pretty busy band for a really long time. You do everything. I mean, you write, record, and you've been on this tour cycle for a super long time. Just write, record, tour, write, record, tour. And then we, of course, had a couple of years where that just kind of came to a halt. How did that impact the band?
I mean, it was devastating. You know, that there aren't a lot of things to support like independent contractors, and they lose their jobs, and that's what we are. We're gig workers, so we just kind of were sent home with no idea of what was going to happen next, like a lot of people. And our childhoods were completely just, this is our identity. Screaming Females is our identity. So I know that I can only speak for myself. I didn't really know how to function without Screaming Females. So it was really difficult to take a break that long.
Yeah, it sounds like it just really encapsulates so much of your life. You know, you do the shirts, you do the artwork, you do pretty much everything. Even sometimes you've booked shows. So I imagine that just halting that was just a big change for you. But you were able to get these songs done. I understand you had them ready or written before the pandemic. When were you able to go into the studio and finally get them out?
We have the bulk of them written prior to COVID even being like something that anyone had any idea was coming down the pipeline. And so then when we were kind of trapped at home, we did a little bit of remote writing through email, and a couple of those songs wound up on the record. And it wasn't until probably like some of the songs by the time we got in the studio were like 4 or 5 years old because of COVID, obviously. And we went to Pachyderm Studios with Matt Bayless from Seattle and committed them to record.
You've worked with Matt, by my count, I think on at least 3 records, and we love him, obviously, and it seems like you do too. What about working with Matt do you like so much? What gels there for you?
Matt was the first producer and engineer we ever worked with. We had been a band for over a decade by the time we decided to work with Matt, and we've never really had like a fourth person weigh in on songwriting. So we kind of decided by the time we did Rose Mountain, which is our 5th album, 6th, I don't know. 6th album, that it was time maybe to try something new and have someone else help us like make little adjustments to songs. And we knew that Matt could record, like, had a really wide dynamic range when it came to like the artists that he worked with. And he just happened to be on the East Coast, so we hung out and ate sandwiches, and he said that he would like to do the record And yeah, he's got a lot of good ideas, and he's fun to work with.
And you decamped to Minnesota. You mentioned Pachyderm Studios. Some albums I really love were made there. Nirvana's In Utero, PJ Harvey's Rid of Me. What drew you to that studio?
Since this was our third record with Matt, we kind of wanted to not just do the same thing that we had done for the previous two records. So we asked him if there was ever a studio that he kind of dreamed of going to one day, and Pachyderm was one of them. So we got in touch, and then we wound up there.
And was it fun? Was there anything unexpected that you got out of the studio that you didn't know would be there?
I gotta say that most of the time when we were making a record, I don't really get to do anything except record stuff. There's a pool in the basement that's quite frightening because it's kind of painted. I think the basin of the pool is painted black or a very dark color, so it's very spooky. And then behind the spooky pool is a very spooky sauna. So I would say overall the house is pretty spooky, but also beautiful.
And did you go in the pool?
I did.
Okay.
It was scary.
I love it. I love it. You know, these days, you've been a band for a super long time, way before social media was a really important way to promote what you were doing. And now that there's such a heavy focus on content creation and social media, you all do pretty much everything in the band. I mean, how has that changed what you do? I mean, do you enjoy that, or you just kind of grin and bear it and you're like, it's just what we have to do now?
I would say I mostly grin and bear it. I just want to make sure, and I think I can speak for all of us, that people know where the show is and when it is, and that just seems to be the pathway that people take to find out where the show is nowadays, and that's fine. So I use it for very utilitarian purposes. It's not really a creative outlet for me personally in any way.
It is a way to be in direct contact with your fans, though, which is neat.
Yeah, I think that's invaluable. That's been pretty cool. But we're old enough that we remember not even that the word social media, that term wasn't even in our lexicon. So.
Well, speaking of being in direct contact with your fans, you're on your first headlining tour in the past couple of years right now. How's it been I know you've played some other shows, but how's it been to be back out there on the road, connecting with people face to face, seeing all your friends?
It's been really interesting, especially with the big bookmark that COVID put in our touring career, because now there are a lot of really young kids at the show who have grown up listening to us, which makes me feel like a very old lady. But it's also so cool, and I love seeing them there, and I'd love seeing the people who have always come to see us, even when we were little kids, are still coming to the shows. So, and they're bringing their children and stuff. It's just it's a very wholesome family event, I would say.
Well, it's great to see that this man has had such great longevity, and always excited for a new record from you. Thank you for bringing the songs from Desire Pathway here to the KEXP studios.
Thanks for having us.
I'm Cheryl Waters, and we thank you all so much for joining us here in studio. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more great live music here, you can visit us at KEXP.org. We are listener powered. You can make a contribution anytime and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can continue to discover great live music here on KEXP, where the music matters. Once again, a big thank you to Screaming Females for joining us live in studio here on KEXP Seattle.
Discover great music at KEXP.org.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?